The notion of femininity, I've always found curious.
My name is Ella.
Grace Lewis.
Lucy.
Lily.
Anne Goodman.
Rosie. Lucy Stock.
Polly Bayfield.
Lauren.
Judy.
Holly.
Jane Bayfield.
Sheila.
Yes, I do think I'm feminine. I have attributes of femininity, like physically, I'm delicate or graceful. You can be feminine in just the way that you move.
I'd say I'm quite feminine in my nurturing aspect.
I'm quite feminine in the sense that I'm interested in clothes and the way that I look.
Long hair, I wear makeup, I wear dresses and skirts, which is female.
Stereotypical feminine, like girly things, like frills and pink, and like being gentle and like mild.
Gentle and soft.
The gentler things.
The pink.
You have to have your nails done, you have to have your hair done in a certain way, you have to wear pretty pale clothes or speak delicately. I would visualise a middle-aged woman wearing Laura Ashley dresses floating around in a straw hat.
Birth, mother, caring, nurturing.
Wow! Does my mom cook 1,095 meals a year? That's a lot of meals.
Well, that's just what she does.
I like run the house and you're quite kind of whimsical and unaware.
Stays at home, like prioritises her family perhaps over like a professional career.
Quite affected, quite interested in looks, not really interested in like intellectual conversation.
Or maybe who's curvy, almost kind of like a siren who can enchant men and is appealing for men. I think there have been times, definitely growing up, where I felt I've been treated differently due to my gender. You're viewed more for your body, you're valued by your body. If you aren't naturally as curvy, you're noticed less. If you're clever, you're almost sexually objectified in a way. Boys find it almost a novelty that you're intelligent.
I have on a couple of occasions, and that was more inane comments.
What is that whipcord resilience that lets the weaker sex play half the night, then bob up clear-eyed, ready for the next morning's work?
In that moment, it was almost like because I was a girl, I had to prove that I could do more. They feel that it's undermining for their gender to lose against the girl.
So my current role at a supermarket, my ability to perform certain roles is often questioned because I'm a female, or maybe because I've come to work wearing a dress. I can get up a ladder in a dress, it's not a problem for me.
And it frustrates me that there's a whole different lingo, a whole different attitude that it seems acceptable for men to pursue or to adopt. But if a girl does, she's automatically rendered a tomboy.
Depending on what culture you're born into, people have certain expectations.
I was treated differently because I was a girl, but I don't think it was coming from like a malicious place. I think they were just doing it because that was what they were used to. You have to kind of find the balance between accepting people's culture and accepting that that's kind of the values that they want, but then also accepting that they need to be more progressive.
Say playing rugby, to me I visualise a man, and knitting and sewing I think of a woman. I suppose it's my generation.
I believe females should be equal to males, but it doesn't mean they are.
We are still not viewed as wholly equal to males.
Just for how we're valued in society, I was sort of pigeonholed into being functioning for men, being mothers, being wives, but we're first and foremost human beings.
She must know how to cook. She must know clothes. She must make social contact. She must widen her own horizon. She must face death. To bring children into the world, she must raise them. She must be a companion, a sweetheart, a wife, and a mother. She must stir his ambition, pull him through failure, and keep success from hurting him.
I think we're equals in terms of emotion and morality.
They're equal in different ways. I think we have different strengths.
We don't have to be equal in everything. We're never going to be equal in everything in terms of like men are always going to be stronger than us, whatever. But I think in an ideal world where we should be valued equally for who we are.
If you want to be treated equally, and you want fairness, I think you have to stand up for yourself.
You touch me and you won't live till morning.
What do you mean by feminist?
I
I think feminist is a very difficult word.
If a feminist means that I have equal pay, equal rights, equal voice, yes, I am a feminist.
I am a feminist.
Yeah, I'm a feminist.
I think I could be.
I'm a feminist, yeah. Yes, I am a feminist.
But yes, I am a feminist, yes.
Feminism is the equality of men and women.
The equality between men and women. I don't like the fact that feminism exists as a movement. It should just be as equal society. We shouldn't need the word feminism.
Doesn't need to be a word. You're either a feminist or you're sexist. There's such a stigma against being a feminist.
Yeah, I think there's a negative attitude towards feminism.
Such a negative attitude towards feminism.
It's funny, as soon as you mention the word, you see people grimace or shut down. And then all of a sudden your argument's a lot weaker. People see you as angry.
Protests and active and
crazy, sort of mad woman,
like man-hating.
Burning their bras, probably being a lesbian, probably also shouting at men in the street in the supermarkets.
Talking to my little brother, he just is crazy. The things that boys, they'll ask you like, oh, are you feminist? Like, oh, I love bashing feminism on Instagram and like making horrible comments. And it's so frustrating trying to explain to them that feminism means equality. And I think a lot of that goes back to the etymology of the word. Like feminism, feminine, they think it's more about like promoting the female when it just isn't. It's about equality.
Because men almost see it as a way of like women trying to get one up, but actually they're only just trying to get equality.
It's equal in terms of joining, not bringing the other one down to where we think we are.
If you've been born with something, if you've been born with a privilege, no one likes to feel like it's being taken away from them. So if they feel like feminism is promoting women over men, then they're going to be scared that they're going to be losing something that they feel is a birthright.
The cultural shift for men is so huge, and they're feeling it. I think there is a sort of a backlash towards feminism too, but I think it's a transition thing.
Most TV series that I watch, it is predominantly male. Story revolves around a guy.
I definitely think in the film industry, the representation of women is very one-dimensional, and it serves a purpose for the film. So the male figure in the film will have a lot of different qualities and a lot of different trials to go through, whereas the woman might be just, the sexy siren to lure him away, or the nerdy one, or the fat funny one. There's not a lot of depth.
You've got the odd one that's a heroine.
The woman being the token sexy piece.
Almost sarcastically done when it is the other way around. When women are shown to be strong, it is almost sarcastic.
A huge lack of variety.
A typical relationship of a guy sort of going after a girl. It's never a girl going after a guy.
We do get pigeonholed to play a certain part to make somebody else look good.
A lot of films are still based around, will she be single? Will she ever find a man? Will anyone ever accept her?
My mum, if it was like a damsel in distress, she'd say that's like iconic Hollywood, and that's like the kind of era that they've grown up with.
They all have the same theme. So they're all trying to brainwash us into something or other.
Or I can think of films that have strong women in, but I can think of far more films where the woman is sitting around waiting to be married off.
But I'm still not at the point where I constantly question things because I'm still so used to it. I don't think I've ever watched a programme, a series, a film and thought, oh, I can identify with that person.
I do see myself in some of the female characters, but more often than not, it's always been a time where I felt vulnerable in my life.
Game of Thrones, I love it how there are really strong female bad guys that have actual power, like Cersei being like such a boss-ass bad bitch. It's like the exception.
It's unfortunate that these changes that are being made are such massive, drastic leaps that are only being made recently.
The fact that like half of the population is female, like we should be represented as equally.
I think with a woman, they never value the talent as much. It's more like what you look like, whether you're appealing on the eye or whether like your body fits the stereotype.
That Hollywood has been in the past completely overridden with unrealistic body stereotypes, massively dominated by an unrealistic world. So for instance, like in Netflix, they released like Sierra Burgess is a Loser, for instance, which like depicts a very normal women with a far more normal kind of body image. But like, aside from that, we still get 7 pages of the Daily Mail on Snapchat with Kim Kardashian or Ariel Winter.
Definitely. Adverts aimed at body enhancing and beauty are so toxic and have definitely affected me and people I know. There's such this pressure.
Beauty, of course, you got to have a pretty face. You don't want an ugly queen.
There's this pressure for just unattainable standards. Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like, it's awful.
It is essentially a money-making business, which I think targets women's insecurities.
I'm 50, and when I was growing up, being fit and healthy was what was important. Now it's looking good.
I feel like girls are made to be obsessed with how they look. Like, appearance in society is a lot anyway. Everyone sort of views it as such a big thing.
I think people think I'm more confident than I actually am.
It's almost, if like men say, oh, I have mental health, or I'm anxious about my skin, or I'm really unsure about how I look, that would be considered almost like a bit pathetic or a bit feminine to think that you're worried about the way you look.
I think we're still set up to have the outer beauty being the one that wins you. Validity.
Massive media drive against women just being.
You'll look younger, smaller, lighter, fuller, tighter, thinner, softer. It really works.
In these adverts, it's always like ideal women.
I think, can I get rid of the wrinkles?
It's, oh, I want that to be me, or
fucking things left, right and centre, and slapping on makeup and straightening their hair and colouring it.
Body hair was created an issue for women that we have to like deal with, and it's like, it's really not an issue. It's not a thing that we should have to deal with.
Why do you have to conform to a societal norm that is not natural?
You've got to use your common sense.
I think we're all sold to on a level. Women must look a certain way. They must remove all of their body hair. They must plump up their lips. They must plump up their boobs. You ask them who they're doing it for and they say them. I don't believe that.
When I see adverts specifically for women, I feel very patronised. They're normally very simplistic, jolly, always the same colour scheme, pink. The problems are very trivial. It's about, if you're trying to run a marathon and have 6 kids and cook your husband dinner on your period, don't worry. Yeah, it really undervalues women and the tasks that they have to go through.
Really patronising sometimes, the female adverts.
It used to make me feel really angry.
Are they portraying who we really are? Is the woman cleaning? Is the woman obsessing over a boy?
A lot of people just see the adverts and they wouldn't even cross their mind that it's always a woman in the kitchen, or it wouldn't even cross their mind that there aren't many like male adverts for clothing.
I do 100% think sexism is still alive, and whether that's aimed at female or male.
You can't afford to be sexist.
Yes, I think sexism still is an issue. I think the last of the dinosaurs will be dying off shortly. One more generation and we should have it cracked.
It may not be as, glaring as it was, as it has been throughout history, but it's almost more sneaky.
Even with my partner, I'll try and move something. No, it's okay, you do this. No, actually, I enjoy doing this stuff, so let me do it. The guy's doing the guy stuff and the girl's quite happily doing the girl stuff. Obviously, I would rather he take the bins out because it's disgusting, but not because he's a boy and he has to do it. So no one's winning. How can we expect development and change when there are still some times I think, oh, honey, can you do the bins? There's bin juice everywhere. That's a blue job.
I do believe it goes the other way, the way girls get free drinks, free entry to places. There's obviously practical things, everyone goes gender pay gap, but it's even things like how girls are expected to behave and be and what they're supposed to wear, how we're supposed to talk. It's like, oh, that's unladylike. So many times I've been called that.
I think society pigeonholes, especially pigeonholes women. If you're a businesswoman, you couldn't really be that soft, loving mother, because I used to work on a building site. I was either known as, here comes the headmistress, because I was Mrs. Health and Safety, or it would be there's a woman on site, what does she know? And I was their boss. Maybe a bit hard-nosed.
It's a nervous wreck.
Ditzy.
Sporty.
Flirty.
Cold but sarcastic.
Opinionated. Dumb blonde. Ditzy. Stupid. I like pink. It's definitely the stereotype of me.
Yes, I've had that being blonde.
I think the things that people continually notice about you and almost box you into really do have an effect. It is quite limiting, and especially if you feel that that's not how you really are, you feel quite lost.
That a lot of women, because they feel uncomfortable, they feel the need to kind of either blame the stereotype or almost like play up to the stereotype.
Subconsciously, you play up to it in order to be accepted.
Being a woman in a male-dominated business is that all this fluttering of the eyelashes, flirtatious, I can get on and satisfy or please men, doesn't work. And the I've balls of steel with my shoulder pads doesn't work. The only way women can truly be equal is by doing an equal job.
Particularly men put women in boxes because it's almost like comical, but if I put a man in a box, that would be deemed being like really political and rude, but yet for a man it's kind of just like flippant and quite funny. Male stereotypes are celebrated, so like being a lad or being quite kind of enthusiastic or like getting a lot of women is kind of celebrated, whereas with women you'd be deemed kind of like a slut or like almost slut shamed. So I find with women as well, everything's very like sexualized.
Sex sells.
I remember when I first started my job in journalism and we had to do a photo shoot for the breakfast show, and the concept was a male presenter in bed with the female newsreader and the female producer, and it kind of just made me feel what I'm only good for is just to look as though I'm a sexual object.
Customer?
I guess so. You'll want to see her anyway. She's a knockout.
Sure in, Effie, darling. Sure in.
Are you being exploited, or are you in control of what you're doing? And if you are, fantastic. We have to empower our young to say, no, I am worth it, I am equal.
Yes, medically well trained, being matrons and all the rest of it. But one or two people saying, I should have been a doctor.
Doctors always had to be men, you know. When women became doctors, it was quite an eye-opener.
We're getting better.
It's less than in the 50s and 60s when I was brought up.
More so than when I was growing up.
As compared to 20 years ago.
If we look back over the last 20 years, or the 19 years of this millennium, yeah, I think you'll see a shift.
I think the age that we're in now is just the start of that. And I hope there'll be more in the future.
Oh, it probably is better than it ever was. Yes, it is better than it was. And it's getting better, thank goodness. But men seem to be in the forefront and girls just trailed behind.
And maybe a woman takes the back seat, and I think that that's not how women are anymore.
I see it in the next generation already. The men I know who were raised by single mothers are different men. The young people who don't care what race someone is are different people. And we contributed to that.
Womanhood. It's hard to define.
I think womanhood is
It's like maternal and family.
resilience,
Growing into yourself.
To do with like growing up.
durability,
Strength and control about what you want in life.
Like fully accept yourself. You fully understand yourself and you know what you want.
Celebrating who you are.
empowering yourself despite having people or a society around you that doesn't necessarily want to empower you.
The capacity to provide the next generation. It's a hugely powerful thing.
I suppose being a mother, being a friend, well, just being.
I think it's just being. Womanhood is being me.